Hello, I'm Benny Westside, and I'm here with Cleaning Agent once again, who's graciously hosting us on his channel. Come check us live while we record these. And we're gonna talk about Loki season 2, episode 5 today,
Yes,
which
we
was an
are.
interesting one for sure.
It was interesting. It
How are
was
you
interesting.
how are you doing, Cleaning Agent?
You know what? I'm surviving. My voice is a little raspy. I just finished a 24-hour stream. I was raising some funds for Children's Miracle Hospitals, and it went off beautifully, aside from almost destroying my body. But I'm here and I'm excited to be with you, my friend.
Likewise. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Um, I guess I'll start off hot. How did you like the episode?
Okay. Did I like this episode? Oh boy. I, mm, I liked elements of this episode,
Hmm.
but on a whole, compared to last episode, I don't think I like this episode.
I see. Okay. I can see that.
Yeah, and I mean we can get into why as we go through the episode,
Hmm.
but I think that's where I'm gonna sit right now, and maybe that'll change after we talk about it more. That often
Yeah,
happens as well. So, what about yourself, Mr. Benny Westside? Did you like the episode 5 of season 2 of Loki?
I did. Especially like out of Loki, which for me is like a very low bar. I thought it was good.
Okay.
Like it, I didn't love it, but I thought it was a good episode
Okay,
for
yeah, that's
Loki.
that's totally fair. Yeah, it's totally fair. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's do a brief recap at the end of episode 4. Everything
Mhm.
went spaghetti. Um,
Yeah.
they got everything they needed to theoretically fix the loom and put everything back on track ish. So we think maybe
Hmm.
temporarily at least with their little add-on with Victor and Obi's minds coming together in a beautiful harmony. Timely volunteers to get out there and do it himself because I don't know, he was felt like a hero. Dons the suit, opens the doors, spaghetti.
Yeah.
And then big bright light as the loom implodes, explodes, I don't know what. Fade to black, fade to white, I guess, on
Y-
Loki's face, right?
Yeah. Fade to white. Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty much the end of episode 4, and it was a great cliffhanger,
Yeah.
left for lots of debate on what might happen next.
Hmm.
So, what happened next, Benny? What happens in
What
episode
happened?
5?
What happened was each of the people in that room, only in that room for some reason, or maybe all of the TVA, we just don't know. They got sent back to the point where they got pruned or like recruited to the TVA, uh, and they started reliving or like they started continuing their lives from where they left off.
Can I
Oh,
stop
I
you for
see you
one
pausing.
moment? Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry, you said they got sent back?
Oh, maybe they didn't. You
Or
think
or was he just traveling to their branch timelines at some
to the
point in their
point
time?
where he could recruit them? Oh,
Hmm.
maybe.
To me, it felt like, well, okay, continue on. No, that's just a question. We'll get into this more after. Let's just continue on.
That
But
makes
yeah,
sense.
I that was just like a. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but we'll talk about that later. Continue on. My apologies.
Okay. Well, he like Loki's time slipping again, in and out of the TVA and some spots where he can find the people in the room he was
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah,
with
specifically
whom
the
he was in the
people.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and none of them seem to know anything about the TVA. They've just basically snapped back, snapped, or like they're living their lives had they
Correct.
not been interrupted by the TVA. And
Yes.
Sylvie is the only one who is aware, but
Correct.
they have they both have different approaches to this. Where Loki's like, I need to get everybody back together to fix the loom again. Whereas Sylvie's like, they're living their destined lives. Like, this is it.
Yeah,
Like, before the
this is the
TVA messed with
freedom
them.
she wanted from the beginning, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So, like, we're all set.
Hmm.
Which I'm gonna ask you, which side do you agree with? Um, and then, but we can get to that later.
Yep.
Loki found OB in his natural state, who was a physics professor slash science fiction writer in the 1994,
Yeah,
yeah, early
94.
1990s.
Yeah.
But somehow he is smart enough, and given the TVA guidebook, OB is able to build a tempad. So they start recruiting again, and for some reason, everybody's like, "Okay, I believe this. I'll come save the multiverse with you."
Right. Well, I
And
mean,
they all just
I guess Loki's very convincing when he says, "Hey, your world, everybody's world's going to end if you don't come and help." And I guess when you're like opening a big green door to tell people that, how else can you go about your life to believe that big green door?
well, so Hunter B-15 was in New York in 2012, so it could have conceivably been before Loki's attack on New York.
Right.
Okay, so like she doesn't know. Okay,
Yep. Yeah.
but Owen Wilson was in 2022, which is like mid blip.
Right. Right.
So like anything can happen Thursdays, right? Like it could uh this could be a liar. He might know about Loki as the person who did the attack on New York 10 years ago.
Yeah. In theory, he would. Right.
Um yeah, so I don't know. I feel like it got yada yada the way everybody just agreed to it.
I agree. I agree to some extent,
But
100%.
yeah, so they're all back together. And then Sylvie is like, no, no, let's leave this be. Uh, but she realizes that reality is unraveling around her. Like reality is spaghettifying, basically.
Yeah.
And
And
she,
I just want to
um,
note that that's my favorite scene when she's just chilling, listening to music.
yeah,
That scene
yeah,
was
that was
the
nice.
best part of the episode for me.
Yeah, and they shot it from from top down. That was
Hmm.
also really nice.
Yeah, I love the whole thing.
And she's like, okay, yeah, we gotta fix this. And she goes to them as well, and they're all chilling in Opie's garage, basically.
Yeah.
Which actually I saw in a breakdown. That room is literally the same room as Opie's office
Yeah.
in the TVA,
Yeah,
which was
I
very
recognized
nice.
it immediately, like with the big tube in the top and the circular aspects of the room itself. It was very
I saw
reminiscent.
the I saw the tubes, and I thought it looked like half of the temporal loom,
Hmm.
but
Okay, I can see that too.
it was the same thing as the his office, so like
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But as they're there, even there, time starts to unravel, and a couple of them actually disappear. And then in the end, it's just Sylvie and Loki. And Sylvie says that there's nowhere left to go, and somehow she disappears too, even though she has the master tempad.
Yeah,
Like she has a
she
functioning
just like
tempad.
straight up gave up at that moment.
Yeah, yeah.
So, which was also kind of weird to me.
And then Loki, in that moment, realizes like, earlier on when he first conversed with Obi. Obi believed it immediately, and he's like, "Well, you need to learn to control your time slipping so you can go to specific locations and times."
Yeah,
Um,
and ending in you can go to an impossible place to get to, which was the
yeah,
TVA,
the
right?
TVA,
Which
yeah,
also doesn't really make
and
sense because they go to the TVA all the time.
yeah,
And he was time slipping within the TVA prior to episodes. Like it's all wishy
yeah,
washy, but we'll get into that more.
yeah, it's very, very much so. But like he tried and couldn't, and then in that moment when he realized like time slipping back to before the loom exploded is the only way he can save these people. And so it's like, it's not why or how, it's like who I do it for. So he learned how to time slip and then flips back a little bit to tell OB for some reason. Or, well, that was, I guess, his first experiment.
Yeah.
And then it worked. So he slips back to before He Who Remains got spaghettified. And then that's
Victor Timely,
the end
yes.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And
So
that's where we end the episode.
that's right. That's pretty much a recap, and I've got so many questions and also so many thoughts, but
Sure.
I don't know where to start. Where do you want to start nitpicking this thing?
Yeah. What I'm gonna ask is
Sure.
what I alluded to earlier. Between just not thinking about all the spaghettification. Would Are you on Team Sylvie, where let people live their lives,
Hmm.
or are you on Team Loki, where we gotta yank them back and fix? And I guess I already tipped my hand and fixed the loom and the TVA and everything.
Right. It's a hard question because okay, well, good question. First of all, how can I not think of all the spaghetti when we are living meatballs right now? Okay, so that's your fault. I will always be thinking of spaghetti now. But to answer your question, I think I'm more Team Sylvie overall.
Hmm.
So let's say whatever happened, the loom blowing up and whatever allowed freedom and chaos to reign and timelines to split and the whole Kang war to happen. I
Hmm.
feel that is the nature of that's the nature taking its course, and that's probably how it should be. But because something's awry and they're all getting spaghettified, it's obviously a moot point and needs to be fixed or somehow rectified, right? But yeah, in
Yeah.
general, I would be like a Sylvie fan all the way. That's why, again, I was so upset when Sylvie immediately just saved Victor Timely's life and it didn't even really attempt to kill any Kangs when that was what she was hell bent on doing after killing He Who Remains. So
Yeah.
her whole arc is screwed anyway.
Yeah.
And yourself?
I, I I'm also agreeing with Sylvie. Even before we even talked to Sylvie in this episode, when he was like trying to talk to them and like trying to recruit more Mobius away from his kids
Mm-hmm.
to like recreate an agency that in that moment seemed like it didn't need to exist.
Right. That's the problem. It's like
Because like,
we don't know, but somehow he knows it has to be rebuilt, or he's just lonely, so he
did
wants
he?
to rebuild it.
I think he was lonely.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, it
Either.
was like, let
Yeah.
people be. This was
Yeah.
what we were fighting for.
Yeah. I kind of agree. Yeah. It is weird. It's weird. He's selfish for sure because he wants to build the TVA for his own means, but
Yeah.
backing it, but with the idea of like the TVA needs to be there or chaos ensues. Like that was his argument, right? Like the Kangs will come and destroy everything. He wasn't thinking that everything was going to get spaghettied.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He just wanted to prevent Kangs.
Right, which is like I guess a legit concern as well.
Hmm.
But again, he hadn't seen or experienced any of that, so who knows if it's accurate or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Um, what else? Did you like seeing all the backstories of all the characters that we've kind of become attached to throughout the seasons?
It was rather nice. I was bummed to see that Ouroboros was just a person and not like a variant or
Right,
something.
right. Yeah. We all
Um,
you especially had some high hopes of who he could be or why he is the way he is. But I mean, I
yeah,
like his backstory, but yeah, the potential like where things could have gone is like pretty cool as well. So
yeah,
it's just unfortunate that way. But I still love the character. He's still super funny. Like he's like, I'm a writer, but I had to get my PhD because I had to pay the bills. It's like super funny.
Yeah. And what he said about like it's not possible in science, but it's possible in fiction. That was pretty cool. Like they have some
Yeah.
profound lines here and there in
And
these shows.
I think also the title of the show or this episode was science slash fiction. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of like and what Ouroboros was talking about, or whatever his name was. I can't remember what his actual name
Hmm.
is, but
Yeah, I don't.
I think it's like Marvel being like, "Hey, we know all this science isn't adding up, so let's
Hmm.
just jump into the fiction side and go on a fun
Yeah.
ride." Right? Like
Yeah.
that's like their loophole to just make things happen.
Yeah.
That's like why Loki was cured of time slipping and yet now can still time slip and do it wherever and whenever he wants.
Yeah.
So it's like
It's like a lot of it is very oh this we wrote it so that's why it is so. Like
exactly.
it was.
It's like remove yourself from the fiction or the science and allow yourself into
Hmm.
the fictional world, and that's fine. Um,
Yeah.
and that's I guess that's kind of why I didn't love the episode is because they like bash that over our heads, being like, okay, like we know we put ourselves in a spot here, and this is the only way we know how to get out of it.
Yeah. It would be nice if the MCU also moves away from the multiverse and like time travel stuff and just like stick stick to normal 616 stories.
Yeah, I think the
Not
problem,
saying like destroy the multiverse, but just don't tell any more stories regarding travel within or through.
and I think they will once like the Kang War dynasty thing all gets all sorted,
Hmm.
and then they can easily do different stories and say it's on a different universe or
Yeah.
or a different timeline, and then it can be their own failed incidences, like you were talking about earlier, being like Eternals is a different timeline that we don't have to care about because it totally bombed.
Yeah, I
It's
would like that.
it's like a great scapegoat for Marvel to just multi timeline, and if it works, boom, it's 616. If it doesn't, boom, it's some other useless timeline we never have to go back to.
Yeah, exactly.
100%, I'm with you on that. If that's where it leads, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So,
I've got I understand, and I'm a firm believer. Like this whole science slash fiction is them writing their way out of this without us having to be too concerned about what happens or why anymore. Science is out the window, so it's now all just fun and games, and that's fine. Do I love it?
mhm.
No. Is that why I didn't really love the episode? Yes. But moving
Oh.
moving on from that, how it works, I'm wondering a little bit because I can't not.
Hmm.
He time slipping Loki was like raw, warbly, crazy time slipping. That was him out of control. And in the
Yeah.
beginning of the episode, we see him time slip to watch himself pick up the book, then time slip to him picking up the book and seeing himself pick up the book.
Yeah.
At the end of the episode, when he's like, I know how to do this, he time slips back to the same place, not seeing
Inside
himself.
himself.
He is being himself.
Yeah.
So is that the who of it? Like, I can slip into my previous time? And doesn't that wreck everything that they've already established so far? He is literally
It's
he's traveling back in his own time, but also will be able to go any time, any
place.
dimension, anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a loaded one. So I don't think that's not the who of it all. I think
Right.
the who of it all is like who he is doing it for.
Right,
Like,
but the problem is Obi already said that. Like you have to go to the people that you need, to gather up to get their auras.
so mentally he knew that, but like seeing them all dust away,
Right.
like,
He didn't really
made him
fully
feel
click.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So that was for him, not for
Um,
us. Because we
yeah.
already knew. Okay.
Oh, we moved.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Hmm.
Okay. And then the second part of it, this like that's not how Marvel has done time travel, where they like go back to the same, like they just go back within themselves.
Yeah, they have never done
I
that
would
yet.
say it's like a new skill he unlocked. Oh, did I
I
do that?
I don't know. What I don't know. Everything's looks fine.
Okay. I don't know how that happened.
What happened?
Uh, I saw balloons on my
Oh,
camera.
I don't know. Nothing showed up, I don't think.
Anyway.
But maybe I wasn't paying
Oh,
attention.
oh, all right. Um, if anybody was wondering, I'm traveling, so I'm not like I'm on a rickety system right now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why.
Hey, it's working just fine. It's working just
Um,
fine.
it's almost like the way in Multiverse of Madness they dreamwalk into their like alternate bodies
Right.
is like how Loki like dreamwalked into back into himself. But as you said, like the it's not something they've done before, and it's too OP because like he can both travel through himself, but also he can travel to points and times he's never been and
Exactly.
locations he's never been.
Exactly.
He's like very omniscient. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Whatever that word is,
Yeah.
omnipotent. He's very omnipotent. Um, it's like the same thing. Anyway, so as as with you, I don't understand what it is or like how.
Hmm.
Um,
But it was a
yeah, but
distinct
like
difference, right? Like I'm
yeah,
not crazy. Like he hit it
no, no,
two
no,
times, and each time there was no warble out of effect of time. He was just like, "Oh,
yeah,
I'm going to be here now," and he was there where he
yeah,
was and is, and then I'm going to be right back at the loom, which is also a weird place. Like, why would he go back to the loom when it's about to explode scene? It seems like
yeah. Go back even further.
yeah, it seems like, but I guess that we'll find that out in episode 6, right? But I'm sure there's some easy thing for him to be like, "Hey, guess what? We can fix this another way. Stop," and then they do it or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I can just fix it. No worries. I don't know. It seems weird, but again, they told us to throw science out the window, so it's irrelevant, really. They're just going to do whatever they want with no reason or logic whatsoever. So I think it's just sit back and enjoy the ride. I just thought that was a weird
yeah,
thing that I noticed and seemed really. It was just jarringly different from the whole time slipping rules they've
mm,
set up. So, and why he
yeah,
could just do it again, it was also baffling, right? They're like, "Oh, this whole world is going to explode. Let me just time slip and fix everything." And I guess that's the beginning of science out the window.
yeah, yeah.
So, okay, that and
It's
that's I
just so
guess ultimately
silly.
that's why I didn't like the episode.
Mm,
But that's okay. I mean, it was fun. It was a fun episode because we got the backstories of Dawn, aka Mobius, and he's like this sad single dad with like only one hobby in his life, and he doesn't even get to do it.
yeah,
Theoretically, his wife is dusted, and that's why he's got two
probably.
skadoos. His kids are like crazy, but he never sees them, so they're just running amok. Um,
I hope
yeah,
he gets the right one like by the end of the
yeah,
season
like
because like
really
we don't know if
ride
we're
one.
getting
Yeah.
an yeah, we don't know if we're getting another season. Probably and hopefully not. Like I would want for him to ride a jet ski.
That's so funny. Okay, okay, okay. So, of the backstories, which one did you enjoy the most?
The Alcatraz one was pretty interesting.
A nod to
Also
history,
because I'm
right?
in yeah, also because I'm in San Francisco right now.
Oh, nice. Oh, dude,
It,
go to
it
Alcatraz if you haven't been to Alcatraz. It's awesome.
it was like wow, like this is such a like in his TVA life, he's just like a clean cut like rectilinear desk
Yeah,
job guy
kind
and
of
he's like
nerdy.
by the books. Yeah. Um but like he's a convict and he ran away from prison.
Hmm.
I liked that Hunter B-15 was a doctor. It was like sh the compassion and like um devastation she showed when all those timelines were being exploited by docs. I think it works very well with that.
Yep.
Um, I think Mobius's was fine. Like him being uh related to jet skis was kind of a given.
Yeah. Yeah, they talked about
But
it. It was talked about. It was
I'm
also weird that
glad.
like he knows nothing about his history, Mobius, and like wants
Mhm.
nothing to do with it, and yet he still has an affinity for jet skis, which in theory he's never ridden in his erased memory.
Yeah,
So that was kind of weird.
it. Yeah, I didn't like completely pay attention to the dates in the beginning. So when he said he has two sons, I was like, oh damn it, is this how we see like Billy and Tommy again? Or like I'm
Right.
glad they showed the kids and like cut off any possibility for theory crafting or like people going berserk on the internet for those. So
Right.
that was good.
That's funny.
Um and then who else? I think that was it. Oh, Ouroboros.
Yeah.
His was interesting.
I mean, I think
As
I
I
think
said, I was
because
more
the actor is quirky and fun, so he sold the
yeah.
story. But yeah, because there was like so much like potential for him to be so much more, it was kind of a little bit of a letdown. Um,
Yeah.
but still such a likable character that it's hard not to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
And I
think it was
like
kind
that
of
he was super
cool.
smart.
Oh yeah, for sure, he's super smart, and which makes sense for everything he's able to do, right? I kind of I thought it was cool that they did like I think it's Frank Miller, the Alcatraz escapee, like
Hmm.
basing it in a real world people, which they did a nod
Yeah.
to that in season one as well, right? With Loki being what was his name? DB
The guy who jumped
Cooper.
off the
Yeah,
plane.
yeah, jumping off the
Yeah.
plane. So I think that's like really fun to be able to throw those little tidbits in there. Um,
Yeah.
but those are all branch timelines, right? That they showed.
I think
And
everything's a branch timeline right now. Like
yeah,
because
because there's
those
no
people
there's no sacred timeline because the loom's toast, or this was
yeah.
prior to the loom, maybe, right?
And so these people, like these instances, have the free will to do the things that would have gotten them pruned. So we're probably seeing them live that out, if that makes sense.
Right. So here's my question: we've confirmed that all of the TVA employees are variants in
Yeah.
branch timelines.
Yeah.
Now, when you branch a timeline, aren't
Mhm.
all Loki stealing the Tesseract or whatever it was creates a branch timeline.
Yeah.
Everybody in that timeline, in theory, is a variant from the
Yeah.
sacred timeline. So even though they're in a branch timeline, say Dawn, for example, it doesn't necessarily mean he's the one that created that branch, right? He's just a guy in a branch timeline.
I think in these particular instances it does mean that because okay, let's say this. Uh he who remains wants um Dr. B-15 to kill
Mm-hmm.
that girl, okay? Like in his sacred timeline, she is supposed to kill the little girl. But instead she healed her and like had fun with her little cast.
Okay.
So that was a variation, and the TVA came to the moment where she healed her and plucked her and recruited her to the TVA, and then like exploded that timeline with
Right.
those little dip 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 little thingies.
Right.
But because that character's free will like pushes her in that direction. But n- now that Loki's like trying to find his friends, he's finding them in the timelines where it's them and not the one that he who remains wanted.
I just really don't understand the reason it has to be them. It can just be any variant from a branched timeline because they're all variants. Like I don't know why it has to be the one who Nexus evented the timeline. Can't can't he
Because
just pluck
that's
pluck anybody and erase their memory?
Kang. Yeah, but
As long as it's not on the sacred timeline, he can just pluck anybody. He can take everybody from one branch timeline that he needs and just use all of them.
I don't think he necessarily needs them. It's like remember how like Loki got recruited? It wasn't like Kang asking for him to be recruited. They were just pruning. So they have the sacred timeline, and whenever somebody deviates from it,
Hmm.
they like prune that, and then like take the person in for a hearing. And if something happens, or if they seem worthy or whatever, they get recruited or they get pruned.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, in Loki's specific case,
Hmm.
they didn't want to recruit him. Mobius wanted to use him because he was a Loki to hunt another Loki. He felt
Yeah,
he would be the only one to be able to track down a Loki, which isn't
yeah.
the case, obviously, because X5 did it in like 3 seconds, so it didn't make any sense
Hmm.
anyway. But yeah, to me, it just, I don't see any valid reason, like any like clear and cut reason why it has to be the variant that created the branch timeline that needs to be recruited to the TVA. Like, I don't see why Kang would care. Kang would be like, I just need 100
Oh,
people to run this TVA. Let's just take him from one branch timeline and shut it down.
Kang doesn't care.
Right.
I don't think I would imagine all of those people got recruited in similar ways. Like in the beginning, it was um um, what's her name? Ravona or like some other like TVA people that started doing it.
Right. Right.
And
Okay.
then eventually like
Or hear me out.
uh-huh.
Circle of time here. Um, this could be a non. What I'm asking, like, why them specifically being picked, and if it's the
Hmm.
variant who made the branch being the issue, or what the reason they're being picked. Circle of time coming around on itself is Loki's picking these people because he knows them and he's their friends is going to lead us to him reestablishing the TVA and then Kang taking it over. So now Loki has picked these people,
That's very possible,
right?
especially because he gave Ouroboros the tool he needs
To do it.
to
Build the
create a
TVA.
tempad,
Yeah.
and
Create a tempad,
maybe he
build the
built the
TVA,
TVA
everything,
around. Yeah,
right? So it's like
yeah.
and that I guess that's pushing now us into what's going to happen next episode. But it's like it seems to me again we're living in this circular world where everything relates back to the first episode in full circle. Now it's Loki builds the TVA.
Hmm.
I assume Loki's going to build it as a free will TVA where whoever's working for him, aka his friends, are putting in their 8 hour shift, they can tempad back to their branch timeline to spend time with their family and friends, and then clock back in at the TVA,
Mm.
so that they still get free will in Loki's ideal circumstance, and they somehow find a way to navigate the branches or navigate the loom so that it doesn't they don't have to trim branches. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? So
Yeah, that makes
Obius
sense.
Obius is going to be able to somehow rebuild the loom where they don't, or there is there is no loom. Forget the loom altogether. They can just navigate, and they're looking for Kang variants, but there's too many Kang variants. Eventually, Kangs are onto the TVA. He who remains takes over the TVA, wipes them all, and we're back at episode 1.
Yeah, that can happen.
That's the full circle to me, and it also allows all of the future. So like that's not going to happen all in one episode, right? I think they're going to get to rebuild the TVA. That's going to be the conclusion of this season. They're going to find a way
Mm,
to rebuild the TVA. Everybody has free will to go back to their timelines whenever they want after work. And the whole multiverse is happy go lucky. They're hunting Kangs.
mm.
Then it leaves the MCU open to build up this whole Kang fight. All these Kangs that are too powerful to be caught. The big war happens. He who remains jumps back into the power seat.
Yeah,
Because he did
I
say,
can see
I'll
that.
see you soon. So he's got to come. He's got to come.
Yeah,
That's my guess.
interesting.
The only issue is like it's kind of sad because Ravonna gets zero arc. Miss Minutes would get zero arc. So like, is that the way it's gonna go? I don't know. It would be weird because those were built up so much in episode 4, and now they're just gone.
Yeah,
Do you have any other thoughts? Did you have any thoughts before I threw this weird theory out?
I actually had no theory about what was gonna happen next
Okay, so
episode.
you're just like, all right, lay it on me.
Yeah,
What's happening at the end of this season?
I I was assuming he was gonna fix the loom somehow. Like with like yours is more climactic, um, and it makes a lot of sense. So
And I feel it's the
I'm
only way.
curious to see.
I feel it's the only way Sylvie would be on board as well, right? Because everybody still has their free will. There's branched timelines. She can either be a part of it or not. Because she's not going to allow Loki to branch timelines. That's just not going to happen. Or she will because she gave up on killing Kangs in like 3 seconds. In which case, her whole arc is trash too. So here's the problem: there's so much on the line to ruin characters' arcs that it just annoys me if they do.
Yeah, Sylvie.
But if it's a free
I
will,
feel like
if he could retain the free will, like, hey, I'm going to personally, that's Loki's job. He's going to go out, find variants and people that want to live this crazy double life, and they have free will, so they can clock out and go back to their timeline whenever they want because they have temp pads coming out of the wazoo, right? Like they can do whatever they want.
mhm.
I think it's like a feasible ask for, and within scientific, even though we're living in fiction now. I just don't know the exact way he's going to fix the problem initially with the loom explosion, or if they're just going to rewind and do something different.
I don't even like
And I
I'm
would
at a
also
loss.
I would also be remiss a little bit if we don't see Victor or another Kang variant show up in episode 6.
I think we're gonna see Victor because he seems to have slipped back to just before
Right. Right.
disappeared.
Yeah. So yeah,
But
yeah.
I would like to see Ravonna again.
Agreed.
Like
Again, if they do,
she's supposed
if
to
they
be a
just drop
big
her,
name.
yeah, if they drop her and Miss Minutes, it's like it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
So
And we saw her in like what, two total episodes?
yeah, like of any substance for sure. So yeah, I guess I'm cautiously emph- huge emphasis on cautiously optimistic that they can end this season on a good light. But there's so much that could go wrong from what I've
Yeah.
said, and they could go in a whole different direction. I don't know, obviously, anything. So I'm just talking out of my mouth.
I hope I hope they wrap it up decently and they don't try to go for a cliffhanger
Right.
because I would be very surprised if they have another season of this.
Yes. I yeah, and I agree with you. I think if they end on a cliffhanger, the cliffhanger is set up for like the Kang
A movie.
Dynasty Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, like oh, bad Kang comes in, what's gonna happen? But it's not related directly to like Loki and him running the TVA. I don't think.
Hmm.
So we'll see. I mean, again, at this point,
Mm,
science is out the window. It's all fiction. Absolutely anything could happen.
yeah.
So, balls in your court, Marvel.
I'm yeah, I'm like racking my brains to find what I want from this finale, and literally nothing. Like I just don't want them to create more loose ends. Like tie up the ones that you have.
You want them to suck back all that spaghetti, clean their plate up,
Yeah.
lick it
Yeah, and
clean.
like tie it with a bow, and like so that it's like I feel like with WandaVision especially, they threw out so many threads, so many like Easter eggs and teases, and like they didn't even know what they were teasing with half of it. It was very um anticlimactic, and it kind of left a bad taste, and I hope they don't do that with this one. Not
Right,
that I'm saying like Loki's my favorite show, don't ruin it. I don't, probably not gonna care,
right.
which I think is a bad state for Marvel to be in, to have
Exactly.
people not care about their content. But
And
that's where we
I
are.
think that's part of the problem is like I think the numbers aren't great for this show. Like I think
Yeah.
they're higher than most Marvel shows recently, but I think it's still like everybody's on Marvel burnout because their quality's kind of gone downhill. So we'll see.
Oh yeah.
Well, hopefully we're pleasantly surprised.
Oh yeah.
At very least, last couple episodes pretty good overall, right? Last couple episodes.
Yes, I would say so. Especially the last two episodes were pretty fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I agree with exactly what you said. Fun to watch. This episode was fun to watch. Did I like it?
Hmm.
Still not sure I did.
Yeah.
But at least they were like upfront and said, "Hey guys, we wrote ourselves into a corner. Now we're just gonna go full in fiction. So just hold on to your seats because things are gonna get crazier for no
Even
logistical reason."
even though proper fiction has logic.
Right, right. But they were like pretty honest with us, which I can at least respect
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think they're kind of out of options, and they were just like, oh, well,
Yeah. So
it's kind of what.
that's fine.
Did you watch She-Hulk?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Oh yeah, they did something similar in her finale too.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, her show is a little different in the way that she actually breaks the fourth wall, so that
yeah,
obviously already leads to like the logic is out the window there, so anything can happen kind of thing, but whatever. It is what it is. That I'm going to try my darndest, which is hard for me. I'm going to try to watch the next episode thinking science is out, fiction is in. Science is out, fiction is in. And see if I can just enjoy what happens based on that thought. And then we will touch base and we'll see if I succeeded, if they succeeded, if anybody succeeded.
yeah. Well, hopefully everybody succeeds.
That's what I'm hoping for. Either way, it'll make for a fun recap and review. So I'm looking forward to it because I'll get to
Oh
chat. I get to chat with this guy.
yeah. So okay, let's break down the goals. Marvel's goal is to not mess it up. Your goal is to um
Throw logic out the window and not worry about
throw
anything.
logic out the window. Yes, and my logic is to not fall asleep.
Oh wow, that's
Or
good. That's
my
a high
goal,
goal too. That's a
yeah.
high bar to
Yes.
set for yourself.
On Thursday night, I watched Gen V, and I watched like a spoiler review for Gen V, and I was like, I don't think I have it in me to watch Loki. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even try it, and I fell asleep. So it was a good call. And I didn't fall asleep when I watched it on Saturday or on Friday.
I didn't fall asleep either.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to get this done because I'm going on a trip like immediately, and you are traveling, so we're like, I have to watch this so we can get this done.
Yeah.
That was my focus, and so we made it through, and here we are. So I'm pretty happy because
Yeah.
hey, anytime I get a little Benny Westside time, it's a good time.
Love you, man.
Well, what do you think?
Well,
Is that a wrap for this episode?
I I think it might be. With I think with that, I just have one thing to say
Oh, please do.
for all time.
Always.